Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all. Welcome back and thank you for joining us at day three of Lakmé Fashion Week's Digital First Season Fluid Edition. We all just witnessed a glamorous showcase by labels Farah, Sanjana and Mishru. Joining us today are the talented designers themselves, Swapna Onumolu of Mishru and Farah Sanjana of the label Farah Sanjana. Welcome, guys, and congratulations on a fantastic showcase. I'm so glad for you to be joining us here today.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
It's good to have both of you back at Lakmé Fashion Week. There's so much that and I'm sure all of us who have joined us on this call have to ask you. So I'll first start with Farah. Farah, as we watch the show and the collection reset, restart, it really was a fashionable offering of optimism and hope. Tell us what it was like putting Reset Restart together for the virtual showcase of Lakmé Fashion Week.
So, the guiding principle of the show was to recreate something upbeat and also optimistic in a way that a lot of the pieces from this collection have been reinvented from seasons before. As in, we've been really going through an entire campaign and a process at work where we're trying not to waste stuff and like upcycle everything. So a lot of the fabrics and the raw materials and the metal embellishments are actually pieces from previous collections that maybe ended up as dead stock, but we have reused them, reinvented them, and loads of the collection is actually incorporated from older seasons to make this new collection almost like a complete like reviving from the ashes almost, so because of the pandemic. So this was reset restart, the entire motive behind it.
All right, and I'll now go to Swapna. Swapna, I'm sure that Mishru's The Lost Summer collection is sure to have a nostalgic, fashionable offering that will brighten style quotients for women. But really tell us behind what was the concept and the inspiration behind The Lost Summer.
As you can tell from the title, this summer, I think most of us spent a lot of time indoors. And for me, I kind of spent that time indoors, kind of fantasizing about the outdoors, thinking about nature, flowers, botanicals. So that's where this collection really came from that thought of like outdoors. And we also had a lot of time on our hands. So we kind of did sampled and did a lot of like super intricate embroidery. It's completely thread embroidered. There's like lot of French knots, lot of tiny details. I mean, I hope it shows through.
But for the both of you, actually, you've been at Lakmé Fashion Week before. But how was it different this time around? What was it like putting this virtual showcase together? We saw you chatting a little bit about earlier, but please tell everybody here on the call, how was it different and what was it really like? Would you like to go first, Farah?
Yeah. So it's been a mix of both chaotic worlds, in the sense when you have an on-ground show, the chaos is like there and there's adrenaline pumping. Here it's no less, because you're getting constant calls from Lakmé following up. Even, I mean, they're so prompt and it's been so organized. It's been a very, very joyous experience, to be honest, because it's made me way more organized than I am by default. Like, we had to prep our collection 3 weeks before the actual date. That never happens. I have never been so calm and at peace because of this, but taught me a few things, the virtual show.
Some structure to the chaos. That's great. That's great. What about you, Swapna?
I don't know how I can add to that, but I can tell you this. This is the first time I've ever seen my show live. Like, it has just never happened. I've always, I'm backstage in that madness. I've never seen a single show of mine. I've seen like video clippings later. So the first time I had like my family over and they're all there and we got to kind of experience it together. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, on that note, I'm going to, open the floor for questions and I'm going to request all the attendees who've joined us in here to please submit their questions in the Q&A box, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah. Oh, we already have 2 questions here. All right, this is for the both of you. While planning the collection, which comes first, the fabric or the idea of the design? Swapna, do you want to go first this time?
For me, it's always the idea of the design, because I always kind of already, I know what I'm making in my mind. I visualized it and it comes from there. So I think it's the idea. The fabric is, then we find the fabric that kind of suits my vision.
What about you, Farah?
I think I agree with Swapna. It's the idea. It's the idea that comes first. And then after that, you just, there's so much, like if you, especially if you're traveling, there are ideas galore. And I'm always jotting down things and like making notes. And I'm like, okay, I want to incorporate this season, this next season. But of course, I've learned how to edit because of Lakmé. But it's the idea that comes first before the fabric selection.
Right. The next one says, do you think digital fashion weeks or digital fashion showcases, do they open avenues that in-person fashion weeks wouldn't or don't? You can take it first, Farah, if you like.
See, for me, the adrenaline and the pump is that walk at the end of the show. And we didn't have that, but there was so much more adrenaline that was there throughout the whole process and the making of it backstage and behind the scenes that doesn't happen otherwise. So I think it's a 50-50. I've really enjoyed the process. I will not complain. And the way it's come through via the platform, it's been pristine. Like, you can't imagine that this was a digital show. And I've never had like a set designed like this for me. So it's been a very unique experience for me. So I love both the live runways when it's possible. Of course, there's no replacing that feeling. But this was very, very satisfying and gratifying in itself.
Right. So I think until we can see each other in person and experience it in person, this is something that does make up for it as well. What about you, Swapna? Do you have similar thoughts on this?
Similar. I also feel like we don't know. This is the first time the world is experiencing something like this. So we'll know now, like maybe once all this goes down a year later, we'll have a little bit, like I would say we'd have some data so we'd know which or what is better.
All right. And when it comes to, if you were to be asked, I think one of our questions here is, what is your strength in designing? If that is something that you had to think of and tell us. Do you want to go, Swapna? I see you thinking there.
I would say for us, our surfaces. Surfaces for us play a huge role, and our embroidery, that's definitely our strong suit. That's also why I feel customers love us, and for us, it's surfaces.
What about you?
So the soul of brand Farah Sanjana lies in its prints. And I actually think and dream and vision everything in print. So for me, it has to be surface ornamentation, textile design, and print design. These three things.
Right. And I'm going to take one more question, which is, so from the time that you knew of your date at Lakmé Fashion Week, now how long did it really take you to plan this collection and really bring it to life with all the challenges that you would have come across? Talk to us a little bit about that as well. What was the duration like this time? Farah?
Yeah. So, because of there was a lot of, there were quite a few hurdles, in the sense shortage of fabric sourcing options. There was like a shortage of staff. There was like a shortage of a lot of different processes that were happening, but slower. So, the duration that we would have probably taken otherwise would have been shortened, but thankfully, because we pre-planned so much in advance with this coming show, which I'm so grateful happened, that I was able to achieve and experiment with things without compromising on my process, which I otherwise thought I might have had to. But yes, the times have really changed and things have become slower and things have become more it's very need based. So in a way, it's okay. It's taught me that yes, in spite of all of this, I was able to create a brand new collection, keeping in mind the limitations. So I think it's really made me evolve as a designer, made me more mindful, made me more conscious. So I'm pretty happy with the turnout.
You're up, Swapna.
I would agree with the mindful and like being more conscious of what you're doing. Definitely, that was also even with us. We used a lot of applique, which we normally don't do because we definitely were so conscious of even like little scraps of fabric, and we kind of wanted to use them in our embroidery. So yeah, definitely made us a lot more mindful.
That actually brings me to the next question that we have, especially for you, Swapna. So, what kind of embroidery have you used in your design? Could you talk us through that?
Yes, this time our embroidery, I mean, it's not just one technique. We've kind of gone all out. We've used so many different sorts of techniques from applique, there's a dozy, there's like a lot of French knots, there's a lot of thread embroidery. So yes, I think with embroidery, it's something that you need to feel and experience. You have to kind of get that. So that's the only I feel drawback. Like no one actually got to see the real thing, but in stores,
Yeah, that as well as I think everybody will be able to hopefully experience it at the virtual showroom and and eventually be in contact with you about it. That brings us to the end of this session. I really want to thank you, Farah and Swapna, for joining us, and best of luck and congratulations again for the showcase. For everybody here who's tuned in as well, thank you so much. For any more information that you may desire about the Farah Sanjana and the Mishru showcase, please do go into the virtual hub and to the gallery section for all the information. We'll see you again soon. Until then, thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys.